Hello everyone and welcome to today's Chrissy B Show. Today's show is dedicated to the parents out there who've experienced one of the most difficult things a parent can go through, and that's losing a child. And today we're concentrating on loss through miscarriage or having a stillborn baby. And just to quickly explain the difference, here in the UK, both stillbirth and miscarriage are types of pregnancy loss, but they differ by when the loss occurs. A miscarriage, sometimes called a spontaneous abortion, is when a baby dies before the 24th week of pregnancy. Stillbirth is the death of a baby after the 24th week of pregnancy, but before delivery. And here's some quick facts. In England and Wales, between 2012 and 2013, there were 39,800 miscarriages that led to a hospital stay, a rate of 5.9 miscarriages per 100 deliveries. And miscarriages are more common in teenagers 14 years old or younger, 15.2 miscarriages per 100 deliveries, and women aged 40 years or older, 15.8 miscarriages in 100 deliveries. So on today's show, we're actually going to be concentrating on the mental health issues that come along with losing a child in this way. And also we're going to be talking about how important it is not to internalize everything and to make sure you do speak about what you're feeling if you have lost a child in this way. So my guest tonight, my first guest, is someone called Esther Okanlawon. Did I say that right, Esther? Sorry. And Esther's actually been very brave today because she lost a child not so long ago, and she went through a lot, and she's willing to come on today's program and actually share with the viewers what she went through, but also how she got help for everything that she was going through. And we also have trustee from the Miscarriage Association, Barbara Hepworth-Jones, and she's going to be telling us what they do and how they also help parents that are going through this type of grief. And later on, I'll also be sharing my own tips on how to deal with any type of grief. But first, we go to the news with the lovely Excel Ashimomo. Welcome to the show, Excel.
Hello, Chrissy.
So I see you have all your papers ready for us there. You've done lots of research and got lots to tell us.
Yes, I have. I mean, it's, miscarriage is a sad event, and it's quite a bit common, if you can say, because apparently 1 in 4 pregnancies ends in a miscarriage, according to the statistics I collected. And I think most people don't know a lot about miscarriage, so I think definitely this program will highlight that, particularly in the fact that it's Baby Loss Awareness Week as well this week, so it will highlight what this problem is. And it's also, like you say, for people to talk about it, to also prevent the sort of burden and the overwhelming, whatever the emotion may be, that people can sort of build up because of this loss. And I think there was something I noticed here about risk factors before I go on to some people who, some well-known people who we know have lost children, babies. Apparently there is a risk that is, there is a increased risk the older the woman is as well, if the woman is also overweight or underweight. And however, even after miscarriage, you can, no matter what the reasons were for a miscarriage, you can actually have a full term again. So really, although I know it's an overwhelming loss and it can feel as though like it's painful or scary to start to try again, but research has shown that no matter what a woman's reason was to have miscarried, they can indeed go on to have a healthy full-term baby. Yeah. So, we'd like to encourage.
And also, I think it's just important to note here that even if a woman does, and parents that do go on to have another child, they shouldn't sort of think, well, now I've got another child, I shouldn't try and deal with the emotions of losing the other child, because it's two different things. It's like one hasn't replaced the other, and you could still be grieving even though you've got another child now, but you could still be dealing with that grief and get mental health issues because of that. And just keep that all inside. So it's important whether you have another child now or not, you still need to kind of talk about it and deal with the emotions that you're going through.
Yeah, absolutely, because I think because I do have friends, for example, friends and family members who unfortunately have had to deal with having a miscarriage. And I think it's something where you can't really understand it unless the person has gone through it, but you can understand the sense of loss, like grief, like how you would mourn somebody who has passed. And indeed so, they have. I think to highlight as well, Baby Loss Awareness Week happens between the 9th and 15th of October, and it's about people commemorating all too brief lives of their babies, knowing that other people will be doing the same, and is to provide also the opportunity for people to talk openly about the subject and raise awareness for this. And I think the main charities that I came across with this are the Miscarriage Association and the Stillbirth and Neonatal Death charity as well, and they're sort of highlighting this week. I think a few celebrity stories that I came across. Jack Osborne, which is one of the X Factor judge's son's wife, had a difficult task of telling the world that they had suffered a second trimester loss in the fall of 2013. She shared at the time that having a late-term miscarriage is by far the hardest thing that either of us have ever had to go through. Jane Seymour, another well-known actress, she's a mum of 4 now. She shared in 2011 that I actually lost a pregnancy live on television, announcing the Rose Parade, but nobody knew at the time.
Wow.
And I think that's something as well that, you know, we look up to these people, we see them on TV thinking everybody looks all lovely and gracious and, you know, but yeah, some people have had, because they live their lives in sort of like in the open, if you like, they kind of feel they have to sometimes be extra strong and they can't break down in front of the public. And when I saw that, I actually did, I think she was raising my level of respect. Nicole Kidman is another one who had fertility troubles, and she talked about having tried and failed and failed and failed. She said, not to be too detailed, but I've had an ectopic pregnancy, miscarriages, and I've had fertility treatments. I've done all the stuff you can possibly do to try to get pregnant. The actress is now mom to 2 adopted children, daughter Sunday Rose, whom she gave birth to, and daughter Faith Margaret, who was born via a surrogate. So that seems to be sort of like a central thing as well, because although people can say that, you know, they've tried different things, and I think is the fact that people are willing to try. And I think that's one of Nicole is an example where she's done all these different things, and she ended up having one of her own, and as well as adopting. Beyonce, we all know Beyonce and Jay-Z. Apparently, she had suffered miscarriage as well.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, because 2 days after Beyonce gave birth to baby Blue Ivy Carter, Jay-Z released a rap that revealed their miscarriage pain, and the lyrics included, the last time the miscarriage was so tragic, we were afraid you'd disappear, but now, baby, you magic. So, you know, we're glad that
ever so eloquent.
Very poetic, I have to say, yes, indeed. Celine Dion, one of my very, very wonderful musicians, gorgeously talented. She's also talked about undergoing IVF treatment, and she talked about, they said that I was pregnant, and a couple of days later we were not pregnant again. We didn't want to feel like we were playing yo-yo. I'm pregnant, I'm not pregnant. I'm pregnant, I'm not pregnant. So we didn't want to do this thing, but we did have a miscarriage. I never gave up, but I can tell you that it was physically and emotionally exhausting. I mean, she eventually gave birth to twins, Nelson and Eddie, in 2010. And so she was quite open about, you know, the previous times she had undergone that. Lindsay Lohan is another one. She also surprised many people in 2014 when she talked about having miscarried. She just said, all she says about it is, I couldn't move, I was sick, and mentally that messes with you. And I think that's pretty much key what we're talking about here. Lily Allen, who is another one of our UK artists, has also experienced a miscarriage and stillbirth. She said, I think even though what happened to us is beyond devastating, it's made me realize what I have got, which I don't think I ever really did before, she said.
Did she say what?
It's made her realize what she's got, which she never think, as in even though what has happened is beyond devastating, it's made her realize what she's got, which
I'm
she
just
didn't
asking
think about
if
before.
she revealed what she's got.
No, she didn't. That's how she said it. That's how she said it. I suppose it's about maybe being grateful, the fact that she's still alive to try again, maybe. Courtney Cox, one of the Friends stars, also said,
that's Monica, by the way.
Yeah, that's Monica. She said, I get pregnant pretty easily, but I have a hard time keeping them. And but fortunately, in 2004, she gave birth to her daughter Coco. Speaking of men, we mentioned men, and I'm glad I came across a few men here who were able to talk about how they felt.
We've only got time for one example.
Okay. Hugh Jackman, who is known as the Wolverine X-Men movie, opened up about his wife's struggles in 2012, saying, "It's interesting until you go through it. You realize it's not talked about a lot.
Yeah.
We did IVF, and Deb had a couple of miscarriages, and it was actually, I'll never forget it, the miscarriage thing is also apparently happens to 1 in 3 pregnancies, but is very rarely talked about. It's almost secretive, you know." And yeah.
I wonder why that is.
I think
why it's not talked about. I don't know if it's you don't know what to say, or
I think something I came across though is that some women might feel guilty, like it's their fault, or they did something, maybe they didn't eat the right things, maybe they didn't do the right exercise. So I did come across some people when you know their stories, they feel.
It'd be nice to ask our guests as well what their opinion is later, because I'd be quite interested in why people don't think, you know, why we're not talking about it enough.
I know.
But Excel, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we'll see you again next time.
Okay.
All right, guys, so after the break, we do have a real life story, someone who's been through this and has come out on the other side, and that's a young lady called Esther. And later on, I'll also be sharing with you my own top tips on how to deal with any type of grief. So don't go away. Hi, I'm Chrissy B, and my show is all about improving your mental health and being happy. Join me every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 10 p.m. on my channel Sky 203. Visit chrissybshow.tv for more information and subscribe to our YouTube channel Chrissy B Show. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chrissy B Show, and on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. Welcome back, everybody, to today's program, and we are speaking about losing a child either to miscarriage or stillbirth. So we've been, you know, the point we want to get across today is to make sure people do talk about this, that it's not something that's hidden, because there are all sorts of mental health issues that can come along with keeping silent about these things. And today I'm joined by Esther Okanlawon, and she's been through this experience herself and will be telling us what it was like for her and also how she got the help. So Esther, thank you so much for joining us today. Very brave of you.
Thank you.
I'd like to, the first question I'd like to ask is, what made you sort of willing to come on today to talk about this?
Even though I experienced quite a devastating moment in my life, I still went through in a positive way, and I am aware that there's some women that unfortunately go through it in a way that does kind of debilitate them, and I just want to encourage those women and also their partners, their families as well.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much for doing that today. I'm sure it's going to help lots of viewers. So let's go back. Tell us about the pregnancy and what happened.
Yeah, so I was pregnant last year, and it was my first pregnancy. And it was an exciting time for both me and my husband, both looking forward to being parents. As you would, you get ready, you look for names and so forth, get all the little bits ready together. And as the pregnancy progressed, within the 3rd pregnancy, unfortunately, our baby died. And you know, it was quite a devastating situation, because it was such a shock to us, kind of thing. We'd go to all the appointments and everything.
Had everything been fine? Like
everything was really well.
Yeah.
You know, it was such an amazing experience being pregnant, and so you would never think of the complex aspects of pregnancy. You try not to put them in your mind, because you are aware that there's so many things that can go wrong, but you don't focus on those things, just to be positive throughout your pregnancy. So it was quite a moment of complete shock when we did hear the news that she had passed away. It was a baby girl, and yeah, it was just such a shock for us. At first we were just, you know, trying to think, you know, I've still got to deliver her, kind of thing.
Oh gosh, that must have been...
Yeah, it was. I mean, at the time, though we had heard the news, we were kind of thinking positively that, oh, maybe there could be a miracle, that maybe the doctors have got it wrong, and by the time you deliver, she'll be awake and crying, and everyone will be surprised and happy. And so that's what we kind of focused on throughout the whole delivery aspect.
Can I ask how long were you sort of in that state where you'd heard that she'd passed and then you had to deliver?
I can't remember exactly because it happened so quickly, kind of thing. So the time is just oblivious to you, kind of thing. So, but we eventually delivered her in June of last year, so it wasn't long ago. And she didn't wake up as we hoped, but it was still amazing to see her. It was still amazing to have her in our arms, kind of, because you do get to spend time with your baby, with situation and conditions permitting, because depending on when the loss actually occurred, you can spend time with your baby. So we were fortunate enough to spend time with her, and just to kind of see how she would have been, kind of thing. And we said our goodbyes, and we were just in a state of shock, really, like, wow, this has actually happened, kind of thing. And we absolutely had no idea what to do, because we've not really known anyone that it's happened to. So we kept ourselves in constant communication, my husband and I.
Did you get any support from any outside organisations straight away, or was it something that you were dealing with by yourself? Well, fortunately, the hospital first directed us to a charity called SANS. They help parents that have gone through stillbirth and neonatal death, I believe, and they have great information available to support parents. There's meetings that you can attend with other parents that have gone through stillbirth or child loss. How important was that support for you at the time?
It was incredibly important, because at the time you want to know what to do, basically. Like, there's so many questions that you never would have thought of, because you don't prepare for that sort of eventuality in your pregnancy. So when it does happen, you just have no idea what goes on, how to take care of the baby after the fact, because obviously you can look at if you want to bury your child, or if you want to do whatever you want to commemorate the child, basically. So they informed us of that, and then also...
Which is all obviously all very difficult, such difficult things to do when you've just lost a child. You don't even want to think about that stuff. I suppose getting that support is really helpful.
Tremendously.
What about with you and your husband? Because you said you communicated quite well. How was he coping with everything? Because obviously you were both devastated, but...
Yeah, he did amazing, actually, like really supportive, encouraging, very loving. He never blamed me, because sometimes you want to put blame on somebody, but he never did. And he always would reassure me that it was never my fault, kind of thing, so I never feel that way. Even if
did you ever blame yourself? Did those
thoughts would come,
Yeah.
And it would be hard to kind of like push them away, because they do come quite strongly, and you just think, what if this, what if that, kind of thing. But then
I was talking to someone today actually about that. It was something completely not to do with babies, but losing someone, and she was saying to me, oh, maybe if we'd done things this way, if we'd done things that way. And I said, you just don't know. You do your best at the time, and what can you do?
Exactly.
You can't sort of live regretting things that you didn't do.
Yeah, I mean, you think it, but it's not necessarily the truth that if you had done something different, things would have been different, because you could never guarantee what could happen. All you can do is just see the situation and take the best from that situation, which is what we did. We were thankful that we were parents to her, and I'm really thankful that I had that sort of mindset.
What kept you so positive, though? Because like you said, there's a lot of people that sometimes there are people that fall apart and they can't move on and stuff. So what made it different for you?
With us, we used our faith. We have a faith, and that encouraged us a lot.
Okay.
To just stay focused and positive, and I don't know, it was just a miracle really that we were able to stay positive, because in that situation, until you're in the situation, you just never know what you're going to do, kind of thing. So I was surprised with myself and how my thought processing of the situation. You find a strength that you never knew existed, because you just take it a day at a time, you know, whether it's getting up to have a shower or just having a chill out day in your pyjamas or something, but just taking each day slowly and not putting too much pressure on yourself, kind of thing. So
at that point, were you sort of afraid to try again to have another child?
We weren't afraid, but obviously we both had to discuss it with each other, because I could have my feelings and he could have his, and they could be completely different. But fortunately we were in sync at the time, so we both thought, you know, we're going to give it a try, because our first child wasn't going to be our only child. Prior to us having the pregnancy, we had in mind how many children we wanted. And so, you know, we always knew that there would be a sibling to our first child. So that was something that we still wanted, but obviously it was still kind of scary. Not necessarily trying, but when we did manage to get pregnant, when I've spoken to some people who have had losses, depending on when the loss occurred, when they reach that milestone, they can relax and breathe. But when it's after a certain period of time, when it's so late in the pregnancy, you have so much more waiting to do, and you just have to try and constantly keep your mind positive and focused, and that is quite difficult.
Well, you have a baby girl now, don't you?
Yes,
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How old is she?
She's 4 months now.
4 months,
so yeah, she's an absolute gem. It's another blessing for us. Our first child was a blessing, and our second child is a blessing. One thing we encouraged each other was to never forget our first child, or think, you know, that it was a mistake. She was a mistake. She wasn't for us, and we fully embraced that she was part of our lives, even though it was a short period of time. We fully embraced her, and we will come to let our daughter that's now with us know of her older sister. So, you know, we're fortunate in that regards.
I love your positivity. Really, it's
we're really
blessed,
great. And we're really fortunate, and we're really thankful that we have this sort of mindset, because as I said, it's so easy to fall into a negative mindset, and we're just thankful that we were able to stay focused and positive using our faith, and just speaking to each other is really key.
This is the communication thing is really, really important, isn't it? Well, Esther, thank you so much. Well, you're going to stay with us, because after the break we're going to be joined by another guest, and that's from the Miscarriage Association, and it's trustee Barbara Hepworth-Jones, and she's going to be telling us what they do and how they help people who have been through this kind of situation. And later on as well, I'll be sharing my top tips on how to deal with any kind of grief. So do stay tuned. Hi, I'm Chrissy B, and my show is all about improving your mental health and being happy. Join me every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 10 p.m. on my channel Sky 203. Visit chrissybshow.tv for more information, and subscribe to our YouTube channel Chrissy B Show. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chrissy B Show, and on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. Welcome back, everybody, to today's programme, and we are speaking about the grief of losing a child, a baby in fact, and also how to cope with it. And now we're very lucky to also have joining us from the Miscarriage Association trustee Barbara Hepworth-Jones. Hello, Barbara.
Hello.
Thanks so much for joining us to talk about this difficult topic, but it is also very, very important that we do discuss it. So we've heard Esther's story. What did you think of everything that she spoke about today?
So sad, isn't it, when you do lose a child either with stillbirth or miscarriage. And I do think that Esther is very brave to talk about it.
Yeah. But you're also very brave because you've gone through it yourself, haven't you?
Yes, I've had a total of 5 miscarriages. So I had 3 miscarriages initially. Then I was lucky enough to have twins. Then I had my third daughter, who was a threatened miscarriage, but the pregnancy was ultimately successful. Then I had 2 more miscarriages, and then we were finally blessed by our 4th daughter.
Okay.
So we're very lucky. So we do have 4 daughters, but 5 miscarriages to get them.
Wow. So obviously you managed to somehow keep yourself positive because it didn't stop you from trying again and everything. How did you yourself keep yourself positive, or was it something that you found really difficult to do at the time to keep mentally strong, I would say?
I think it is very difficult indeed when you do have recurrent miscarriage, especially when we had the 3 miscarriages and we were starting to wonder, would we ever manage to have a baby? So that was very difficult, and I found it very, very helpful to actually talk to women who'd gone through similar experiences and who could really relate to how I was feeling. And that was arranged through the Miscarriage Association, who can offer peer support and women to talk to. And
is that where you got help in the first place?
That's right, yes. And the Miscarriage Association also were very good at handing out leaflets. Of course, this is quite a time ago now, and now much of the support is offered via Facebook, via the website. You can download the leaflets from the website rather than having to have the paper copies sent out in the post, as was my case originally. Yes.
Okay, so tell us about the charity. What kind of things do they offer people, and how can people get help if they need it?
Well, there is a telephone helpline, and about 5,000 inquiries get answered every year, either by telephone or by email. And we also have Facebook groups, closed and open Facebook groups. And there is also a forum on the website. Also, there is a lot of information. I think one of the things that really helped me was actually learning more about miscarriage and discovering it wasn't anything that I did, and that
had you blamed yourself as well?
Yes, I think that's a natural reaction for grief, isn't it? Especially if you don't know the reasons why. And generally you don't know the reasons why you've had a miscarriage. It's quite unusual if you do know the reason. So obviously then your mind starts to think, and you start to blame yourself and blame things that you did or didn't do.
Right, okay. And what other help is there for is there any help specifically for the fathers as well, or is it mainly concentrated on
That's a very good point. There is one of the sections on our website specifically for men, because they do tend to get forgotten. And I think that a lot of men feel that they have to remain strong. And often I hear men say, everyone was asking how my wife was or how my partner was, and no one ever asked how I was. So I think that they can almost be even worse than women at hiding what they're feeling and actually keeping it inside, which, as we know, is generally not a good thing.
No, not at all. Now, why do you think, because we kind of mentioned it at the beginning with Excel about why more people aren't talking about it. So we've got one of the reasons maybe is the guilt factor. Do you think there's anything else that kind of maybe keeps people quiet, not talking about miscarriage and not really opening up about it? Or maybe other people, family members, maybe feeling uncomfortable. What do you think it is that stops people? Both of you can answer this. Like, what do you think stops people from talking more about it?
I think generally we don't deal terribly well with grief, and people are always worried about what to say. I think with pregnancy you've also got the issue that traditionally people never said anything about their pregnancy until they were 2 or 3 months into the pregnancy. And if you then had a miscarriage before you've even announced you're pregnant, it is really often a hidden grief, I think, with miscarriage.
Okay, how about you, Esther? What do you think?
I agree also with what you've said, but I also think as well, especially when you are pregnant, you do want to kind of keep your mind focused and don't really so much want to, not that you don't want to hear all aspects of pregnancy, but sometimes when you do hear stories that have ended tragically, it kind of makes you worrisome and fearful, and you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you sort of like become a hypochondriac in a way, because then you'll start watching everything. I remember when I was pregnant, hearing different people experiencing different things, and that would make me a bit nervous in my first pregnancy, because I was like, oh my God, like all these things, so many things can happen in pregnancy. It's such a complicated experience. It's not just, oh, you're pregnant and then baby comes. You go through so much, don't you? And, you know, there's a lot that comes with pregnancy that you never knew about, kind of thing. So you kind of want to stay in that positive mind frame, don't you? So that's what I think as well.
What do you think maybe friends and relatives and family members can do to help? Because again, you know, sometimes people don't sort of want to talk about it, or they're grieving and stuff. But is there any advice you can give, maybe from your personal viewpoint, what you would have liked at the time, or maybe what you know, advice on what you can say to even from parents and people that can help with the grief and what you're going through?
I think the most important thing is just to say that you're sorry. You're sorry that this has happened.
Okay.
And don't ignore it, just say that you're sorry it's happened. There's no need to say anything more than that. Okay. And don't assume that anyone will have got over the miscarriage or the stillbirth within a certain length of time. Everyone takes a very different length of time to grieve and need to take that time and need their own space. So I often heard comments like, oh, well, that was 6 months ago, you're not over it yet, which is really unhelpful. So, you know, everyone needs to take their own time. Absolutely, yes.
Wow, gosh. How about you, Esther? What would you say?
Yeah,
Friends and family, was there anything that you would have appreciated at the time that could have been done that wasn't done, or anything unhelpful that as something that Barbara shared just now? Which, wow.
Again, I agree with Barbara completely. Parents do need to take time to process the situation. Yeah. So saying sorry is definitely a positive in the situation, and just taking the lead from the parent. Don't try to assume this is how they want to be, or you know, they need that time to focus their minds, because as you said, you don't always know the answers, and when people want to know information about what's happened, you don't necessarily have those answers. Some people, they don't know what to say, like the parents that have gone through the grief, they don't know what to say because they're still trying to figure out within themselves what is going on. So sometimes, you know, just being there will be enough for them.
Okay.
Not necessarily so many words, but just being there. A nice gesture like helping them with maybe a cooked meal or something could be quite nice for them, because then that focus is not on their mind.
Okay.
You know, so those
to try and take some things off their to-do list, if you like, things that they have to do.
Because they're in a very vulnerable and delicate state. Yeah. So, you know, just take their lead, basically.
Okay. Yeah. And if there are, obviously, because we're going to go to break shortly, but if there are parents that are in such a state that it's like they feel like they can't go on, they're really depressed and stuff, what personal advice, Barbara, would you give to them? What would you say to maybe encourage them?
Reach out. There are lots of charities available. There's the Samaritans, they're 24 hours a day. There's the Miscarriage Association, the SANS. Find the help that you need, find the information you need. Talk to someone who's gone through something similar. That can be really very helpful. And just take time. Don't expect to feel better really quickly. If you've bonded with your baby, you've seen your baby on a scan, and you've really started to love your baby, it is going to take time, and you need to allow that time.
Okay. How about you, Esther? Any final words as well before we go to...
Yeah, definitely reach out to somebody that you can be comfortable with and express yourself openly.
It's like you said to me earlier, you don't have to tell the whole world.
No,
but
exactly.
You just, you know, choose who maybe you trust in a great, you know, charity like the one you have as well. So
yeah,
just to,
I mean, your
get
GP
talking.
can help, your midwife can help you and direct you, and as you said, the charity SANS and your charity, Miscarriage Association. Yeah. There's so many out there. Even if you can't find those charities or those people, if you go on the internet and you Google your situation, there'll be forums available where you can listen and read other people's experiences, and then, you know, you can send an anonymous message and reach out in that way.
So it just goes to show that, you know, if there are parents that are watching now that you are going through this, you're not alone. You're not alone, because there are people that have gone through it, that are going through it, and you know, they're there to support each other, and you know, you could get support from this. So please don't keep it to yourself. Don't try to sort of just ignore what's happened and try and live life like nothing's happened. So you need to get that support, and everyone needs help every now and then, and what better way than for someone that's been through it and other people there to support you. Ladies, thank you so much for sharing your stories and also telling us about your charity, which is great. Thank you so much. All right, guys, right after this break, I'll be sharing with you my own top tips on how to deal with any type of grief, so do stay tuned for that. Hi, I'm Chrissy B, and my show is all about improving your mental health and being happy. Join me every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 10 p.m. on my channel Sky 203. Visit chrissybshow.tv for more information and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chrissy B Show. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chrissy B Show, and on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. Welcome back, everyone, to today's program, where we are speaking about losing a baby either to miscarriage or stillbirth. So we've had two great guests on. We've had Esther, who went through this just last year when she lost a child, and also Barbara from the charity called Miscarriage Association, who had quite a few miscarriages herself. And they both can relate to you at home who are going through this or have been through it and are still dealing with all the negative emotions that came with it. So, as I said, I think it's really, really important that we get across on this program that it is important not to keep those feelings and emotions to yourself, and to make sure you get the help and support that you need. And though I can't relate to parents who've lost a child because I haven't experienced that kind of grief myself, but I have experienced grief in another way, and also trauma. So I have a couple of tips that can hopefully help you at home who are going through any type of grief. So I kind of mentioned the first one already, which is to get as much support as possible. So support can come in the form of friends and family, who, if you're fortunate enough to have them around you, do let them help you. So, sometimes people feel a bit uncomfortable when something has happened, when there is some kind of loss, and they don't always know what to say. But you can talk to them, you can say what would be helpful for you. If it's to be able to talk about what you're going through, then let them know that. If you'd rather they didn't talk about it, but they helped you with stuff around the house, or helped you, things to do with your work, whatever it is, let them know how they can help you, because sometimes more people maybe don't come forward because they don't know how to help. In Esther's case, she had faith. She believes in God, so she used that as her support as well. And actually, I did as well when I was going through the grief that I was going through. So see what you have that you can use to actually help you get through that. Another obvious one, of course, is getting professional help. So if you need to go to a charity or a counsellor of any kind, just whatever it is, just make sure you do get some kind of support, and don't try and deal with it all by yourself, because it's going to be very difficult if you do that. The second point is, don't avoid what's happened. So as we kind of touched on this earlier, sometimes grief can be so painful that it's like you don't want to deal with it. You don't want to face up to what's happened. You kind of live in denial. But it's really, really important that you don't avoid what's actually happened. You need to face it, and you need to, you're going to have your time to grieve. You will go through those emotions. You will, what's the word? I suppose you are going to feel it, especially if you kind of don't have a support system around you. If you're dealing with it on your own, if you're really dealing with it on your own, then it's going to be a lot harder. So, but as we heard from Esther, she was very positive about it because she had a support system. She had her faith, she had her husband there. They were, communicating openly about that. She got help from a charity. So she was able to move on. So make sure that you don't try and deal with it on your own. Don't avoid what's happened, and make sure you do talk about it to someone. And the third point is to look after your health. Now, this one might seem really superficial, and you might be saying to me now, oh, what a silly tip to bring up now. I'm going through so much and you're telling me to look after my health. I don't feel like looking after my health. That's exactly the point. When someone is going through something so negative and they're grieving and they're feeling very tearful and they're feeling depressed, for example, what can tend to happen is you might not even feel like eating at all. And that actually makes things worse. You know, you're already feeling emotionally stressed. Then if you, on top of that, you don't eat well, or you start eating junk, or you stop eating altogether, you're going to feel a lot worse. So even though maybe you don't feel like eating healthy food, you should try to eat something healthy. Try and don't, for example, turn to drugs or alcohol to try and make yourself feel better, because it might temporarily make you feel okay, but afterwards you will feel much, much worse. So even though it seems like, as I said, something like, oh, I don't want to think about food or exercise or anything like that, you do need to look after your health. And if you don't feel up to cooking or making anything healthy for yourself to look after yourself, get someone to help you. They can make something for you. They can go and get something good that's good for you. And that will keep your strength up, and it will keep your mind a lot more positive. So as we've mentioned, healthy eating and how that is important to help you feel better, we do have an actual recipe that we'd like to share with you from Ben Cooper, and he's going to show us what to do here. And like I said, if you don't feel up to doing this, you can get someone to help you. Going back to the first point about getting support, let's take a look at this.
Hi, and welcome to MTS Kitchen. My name is Ben Cooper, and today again we're going to bring you a very, very simple recipe taken from Nancy Dale's cookbook. So today, again, we've got very, very simple ingredients. We've got cashew nuts, about 100 grams of cashew nuts. We've got 2 bananas. We've got some coconut oil. We've got a mixture of coconut, desiccated coconut and oats. And then we've got an apple and a little bit of vanilla extract. We're going to put in the wet ingredients into the blender, and then that's going to go in with our banana, and we're going to blend that up and then keep that to the side. Okay, so in with the wet ingredients, I'm going to add a little bit of cinnamon. Now the cinnamon's in there for regulation of blood sugar. It's great for blood sugars. Along with that is 2 pods of cardamom. So I've de-seeded the pods, and they're related to ginger, which is also great for your digestion. So they're kind of in there, the medicinal side of things. So that's going to go in. Now our coconut is ready. So that has gone down into a liquid, you can see, which is going to give the nice wet consistency. That goes in with the banana. It's going to give a little bit of a fizz because it's hot. And then to that, I'm just going to add a small amount of vanilla essence just to give a bit of flavour, really. It's not in there for any other reason, just for flavour. Okay, and then all the wet ingredients is going to go to the side, ready to be mixed in with the dry ingredients, which we're going to combine in a second. And in goes 100 grams of organic cashew nuts, and we're going to add 100 grams of desiccated coconut. And then this again is optional. You don't have to add the oats, but I'm adding oats. You can add quinoa flakes, or you can just leave it out altogether and just use the desiccated coconut. Okay, so the dry ingredients are now combined. You're looking for a kind of a little bit like sawdust, but that's what you want. A nice dry consistency, because then when you mix it with the wet ingredients, it's going to form a really nice, almost like a kind of a bread mixture. The last element, a nice organic apple, and I'm just going to grate that. Okay, so this is going to give more texture to it. Just blend that in. And you can see the apple's really added a little bit of colour to it as well. So what I'm using is a cake tin, because this is going to be like a slice, so we just pop that straight in. And I'm going to pop that in the oven now, again 170 to 180 centigrade for about 25 to 30 minutes. It takes a little bit of time to cook, but it'll be worth it. And we'll see how it's looking. Perfect. And you can see what I was talking about with the kind of bread consistency. So I'm just going to cut myself a little slice and try it. It's amazing. It's exactly like banana bread. So the kids will eat it, grown-ups will eat it. Great for a snack or for a pudding. So cashew banana slice with apple and coconut.
Thanks very much for that recipe, Ben. Well, guys, we have reached the end of today's program. I do hope it's been helpful for you. And bottom line, as we've mentioned, and actually the reason why we do all the shows is we want to get talking about serious topics. We want to get talking about mental health, to get people, getting the help that they need, and also ending any stigma that's associated with certain things as well. Now, if you guys at home have a story that you would like to share, maybe you've been through something, you'd like to talk about it on this program, or if there's a topic that you'd like to see us cover here, so maybe there's something that you're personally going through right now and it will be really helpful if we spoke about a certain subject, don't forget this is your program as well, so you can get in touch via the website chrissybshow.tv. You can also tweet us at Chrissy B Show or comment on our Facebook page, or you can send a message from there, The Chrissy B Show. And also, if you'd like to know more about me and how I overcame depression, panic attacks, OCD, and all sorts of other issues that I had, you can head over to my personal website, which is mylifeafterdepression.com. See you again next time. Bye-bye for now.